2019 is here, and so is the first of this year's animated DC movies, Reign of the Supermen. It's a story based on the Death of Superman comic book story, and it's a sequel to the Death of Superman film. Now, the film is set 6 months after Superman has died, and 4 other Supermen are trying to fill the void that his death has left. Which actually sounds like it could be a pretty decent movie, but the film's biggest failing is that it doesn't deliver on this. Instead, it mainly focuses on Lois Lane throughout, and we barely even meet the Supermen. So why is it called Reign of the Supermen? It's more like 6 months of Supermen in the background, and Lois Lane's quest to find her boyfriend. I mean, that's the film they made, so they might as well call it what it is. Which leads me to the film's characters. Now, the Superboy in this film is very different to any other Superboy that we've seen in past animation. And personally, I think of him in this film as more super millennial. He's supposed to be the comic relief of the film, and as the creators sum it up,
Superboy is, let's say, it's Superman if he'd been raised by the Kardashians.
Now, the problem with this is that he mainly comes across as a joke by a bunch of old men who are so out of touch that they actually think having Superboy do an unboxing video is hilarious and out there. I mean, I did chuckle when I watched it, but really, if Superman did exist, who wouldn't want to watch him unwrap his own action figures? Hell, I've actually watched a video where the actors of Flash and Cyborg from the live-action film actually play with their own action figures. Although, to be fair, that wasn't exactly the best video that I've ever seen. But my point being that it isn't as funny as the creators seem to think it is, and there's so many better things they could have done with this super millennial character. I'd also like to give a shout out to my girlfriend at this point, because she is going to find it absolutely hilarious that I've just called these people a bunch of out-of-touch old men, because that's pretty much how she refers to me. And even I think that there is nothing wrong with a superhero taking a few selfies. And it says a lot about this film that the closest we actually get to a real character is Superboy, and he's basically just there for a few cheap jokes. Now, I personally have hated how the film's portrayed Lex Luthor. I'd say that the filmmakers don't understand his character, but that would imply that he actually has any character to begin with. He's just a typical Bond film villain. He wears a suit, hates the hero, kills people for no real reason. There's just nothing to him, which is kind of the same with the actual Superman of the film, to be fair. The Eradicator kind of has a purpose, but after one fight at the beginning of the film, he's essentially irrelevant. And I say that the reason he is being Superman makes no sense, but the film doesn't actually give us a reason why he's being Superman. Basically, the Eradicator is there to protect Superman's body while it heals. And so the Eradicator decides to do this by completely abandoning Superman's body and flying 4,000 miles away to punch a few people in the face, leaving Superman completely unprotected. I mean, seriously, did no one point this out during the filmmaking process? Steel is also irrelevant. He turns up to fight the Eradicator a couple of times, and that's about it really. I'd say he's mainly in the film so they can sell a few toys that look like DC's version of Iron Man. That and a very stupid moment where this super genius who managed to make all this armour and has God knows how many PhDs works out that Hank Henshaw's body was never found, by directly reading it off the screen and then being confused by it. It's not exactly a good moment. And then we have Cyborg Superman, who is definitely the most important of them all. He was made by Darkseid, and Darkseid did this by taking the corpse of a human and turning it into a cyborg. We don't actually learn how any of that happens, how Darkseid gets hold of this corpse, and then how he changes it so it's alive again and has Superman's powers. Now, true, Darkseid does have alien tech, so it's quite easy to believe he could do this, but it would have been good to see a flashback of how it was done. And it also would be good to find out why it was done. I mean, seriously, Darkseid has a colossal army, and his plan is to use a human corpse to make a cyborg. I mean, why? When he has an army of warriors with insane power levels. It's even revealed in the film that he's the one who sent Doomsday to kill Superman in the first film. So if he can make a Doomsday, why doesn't he just make 100 more and unleash them? I mean, not even the Justice League could stop it. It actually took the death of Superman to stop it. So why not just send another one? That was a successful plan. And even if Darkseid wanted to have a fake Superman, he could have easily recruited a shapeshifter or some such. He's got loads at his disposal after all. So why a human with no powers? And why a dead human, for that matter? There are plenty of alive humans that he could have easily used. Now, it does make more sense in the comic, as Hank Henshaw is transformed into a being that's probably closest to a ghost, and he can essentially possess machines to control them. But in this film, he seems to just be a human corpse with a lot of machinery plugged into it. And Darkseid also has a fleet of ships and parademons that are ready to invade the Earth. They just need to transport through a boom tube to get there. Unfortunately for him, the heroes stop the one boom tube they opened, and for some unknown reason, he can't just open another, even though he's done this dozens of times in the New 52 movies. I mean, they have the technology, but they just don't use it. He's got an entire army ready to invade, but he just doesn't do it. Which is just dumb, and it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, I think the implication is that the boom tubes are being blocked somehow, so Darkseid can't just open one whenever he wants. But that doesn't make any real sense. I mean, even in the same film, he does just open a boom tube earlier on, so why can't he do it again? And we never actually see any evidence of it being blocked in this film, or in any of the other New 52 films for that matter. It's just the only reason I can think of that makes sense of this. Otherwise, it's just a glaring plot hole that no one noticed. Which I could believe. So basically, Cyborg Superman is some weird and pretty stupid plan by Darkseid. And it's also so obvious that Cyborg Superman is evil, it's ridiculous. It really is. I mean, he looks evil, he's like practically got a skeleton for a face. And then he starts putting technology on other humans, which are quite obviously taking over their minds, as they don't even talk like normal people or keep in communication with anyone they used to know. It's obvious they've been turned into slaves, and yet no one really seems to do anything about this. So to sum it all up, we don't know a great deal about the Supermen. In fact, why Steel is suddenly running around as an Iron Man style hero isn't even touched upon at all. Not even one sentence saying, "I was inspired by Superman." That would have actually been better than what they gave us. And we also don't get a decent ending with any of these Supermen, such as what happened to Superboy and the others at the end of this film. Now, Cyborg Superman was the bad guy, so he's gone, yes. But we have no idea what Steel is up to, whether the Eradicator is still functioning, and even though we see that Superboy is now staying with Superman's parents, it's just a photo on a phone. I mean, why can't we see him go there? This is a film after all. I mean, why can't we see Superman and Superboy have just a little heart-to-heart? It doesn't have to be much, just a simple conversation. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we need to see, and this film leaves all of that out. Which leads me to my biggest complaint with this film, and indeed the New 52 DC films as a whole, which is that all the good stuff happens off-screen. The League expanding and including Martian Manhunter, for example, all of this happened off-screen. He was suddenly just a member with no backstory or even introduction of the character. The creators just all assume that we know who he is. Now, I do know who he is, and most likely you do as well, because we're comic book fans. But a newcomer to the DC franchise probably has no idea who he is, and you should always introduce a new character by introducing a new character, not just having them there in the background. And I just can't stand this whole everything good happening off screen thing, and Reign of Superman does it a lot. How is the Justice League coping after Superman has died? We don't see them, so we don't know how they're handling it. We don't even see how they're handling the extra workload now that their most powerful member is gone. All we get is a line from Wonder Woman, who's getting drinks with Lois Lane, and she says that they've been busy. This is a movie. Don't tell us that they've been busy. Show them being busy. Show us why they're having difficulties. It's a film. We want to see stuff happening. And even when Superman comes back to life, I'd say spoiler, but come on, if you don't know he's coming back to life, then you've clearly never seen a superhero film. So welcome to the superhero franchise, and my apologies that this is the first one you're going to see. You should go watch Batman Under the Red Hood. Best DC film they ever made. But when he does come back, we do have a moment between Superman and Lois, although it's a little badly written to be honest. But where is the tearful reunion between the Justice League and Superman? Because that's what we want to see. Now, this may be a Superman film, yes, but the Justice League are in it, so they should be given a decent sized role. But they mainly seem to be there as filler, and are mainly just in the background and, quite frankly, unnecessary to the overall plot. Though with that being said, even the Supermen characters don't get a decent enough amount of screen time, and they're in the title of the film. Now, I do understand why a lot of stuff is happening off screen. It's a writing technique, with the idea being that our imaginations of what happens will always be better than the actual scene itself. And it is a good writing technique, when it's used correctly. But this film, and pretty much all the New 52 films in general, use it all the goddamn time. And it's coming across that the writers just don't have enough imagination or talent to write these scenes. Now, I may be in the minority here, I don't know. Maybe everyone else likes this, and they prefer for the good stuff to happen off screen, and just to watch the action on screen. But personally, I hate it. I want to see the characters interact with one another in a normal way. Is that really asking too much? The old TV series of Superman, Batman and the Justice League did this. In fact, there's actually a 2-part episode on the Justice League show that has Superman believed to be dead by everyone, including the Justice League. But then he returns, and when he does, the League and Superman have a small 2-minute or so interaction showing how they all feel and how happy they are that Superman is back. In fact, in the episode before, they also have another scene where they're all reminiscing and telling stories about Superman. And these are very short and simple scenes, but it's something that these New 52 films seem to severely lack. At the end of Reign of Superman, we don't even see the reunion between any of the League. We literally just skip 6 months so that we can wrap up the whole film in a quick and neat package. And that is terrible. You don't just immediately skip 6 months. You show Superman and the League happy, having a hug, a few simple lines of dialogue about how they missed him and how glad they are that he is back. And then you skip 6 months. Seeing all the different characters interact with one another is interesting and it's fun to watch. That's why most of the live-action Marvel films have all the characters interacting with the other heroes. We like seeing them all interact. It's as simple as that, and it's this film's biggest failure. I mean, this movie does have a good skeleton of a film. It has a decent enough plot, good animation, it has the characters, and it has the action, and it is quite well directed for the most part. But it needs fleshing out. It needs better dialogue, and just a few scenes where the heroes interact with one another like human beings. Because the characters don't come across as being real. They are two-dimensional and, quite honestly, kinda dull. And quite a lot of the things happening in the film are just plain dumb. Even the scene where the entire Justice League is transported off-world by Darkseid. Basically, they're all standing in exactly the right spot, and none of them somehow see the gigantic boom tube above them that is slowly falling on top of them. Until they do see it, and then no one does anything at all. The Flash doesn't use his super speed, even though he could have easily got himself and the rest of the League out of there before anyone could blink. The Green Lantern doesn't use his ring to stop it, and Batman doesn't even step to the side. They just let it fall on top of them and get taken off world, and then the whole world thinks they're dead. I mean, that is just dumb. It is so impossibly stupidly dumb. And then later we actually get a short scene of where they've been transported to, because they obviously aren't dead. And they're basically on some alien world that doesn't appear to have food, water, or even an atmosphere for that matter, but somehow they're still alive and are fighting gigantic aliens. And then Batman indicates that an even larger fight is about to take place between the Justice League and more alien monsters. And then we cut away, and we never see any of this. Again, all the good bits happen off screen. Then later, the League have of course survived, though we haven't seen how they survived, but they're completely unharmed, and they just pop back to Earth in the end and are in fine condition. I'll say it again, it's just dumb. I mean, they've been on some alien planet for a few days without food, water or a change of clothes, and they don't even have tears in their clothes, even though they've been fighting gigantic aliens. But to be fair, other than most of the good stuff occurring off screen, this actually isn't that bad a film. It's well shot and well directed, and by shot I of course mean drawn. The dialogue is a little bit flat, but the plot isn't bad, though you won't exactly feel yourself being lost in the plot, as it all feels a little bit rushed really, which is probably part of the reason that a lot of the good bits happen off screen, as the writers are trying to cram so much in that it all has to be a little bit rushed. But overall, the film isn't the worst of the New 52 films. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great, but it was diverting enough to watch. And if we're being honest, I think we all do lower our expectations a little bit for these New 52 animated films. I mean, I know I do. I mainly look forward to the animated films that aren't part of the New 52 universe. I mean, even the final scene of the film makes no sense. It shows us that Lex Luthor will now be joining the Justice League, which is actually one of the better Justice League stories in recent comics. But why is Lex Luthor a member in these films? He hasn't really done anything to get him on the team, and they all know he's a lying criminal. So why would they want him on the team? It just sounds like a bad idea. And also, where is his personal armor from the comics? Lex Luthor's armor in the comics is actually pretty cool, because Lex Luthor has no powers, and he really needs the suit to get anything done. So I don't see why he doesn't have that suit in the film. And I also don't think it's going to be a good sequel, if I'm honest. I mean, hey, I hope they prove me wrong, but going by this, just expect something average. And finally, I just want to say one thing. What the hell is up with Martian Manhunter? Seriously, his character looks like they drew him, and then they just stretched him a little so he's a bit taller. I mean, is it just me, or does his body just look a bit weirdly shaped to you? So basically, this is a dumb film. But it can distract you for an hour, and so long as you turn off your brain and just enjoy the ride, it's actually not that bad. But don't think about the film too much, because it does have many things wrong with it. And don't watch it more than once, because the first time is enjoyable, the second time not so much, because you start noticing all the things that I've just been complaining about. And if you agree, or if you disagree and think I'm completely wrong, then please let us know your opinion in the comments. And I'd just like to say a quick thank you to those who made this video possible by donating to the Needle Mouse Productions page on Patreon. And as always, thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.